Hey YouTube, this isn't the exact format I wanted this video to come out in. Originally we were preparing for Hurricane Harvey, which is now Tropical Storm Harvey and stationary over Houston, and it's dropping tremendous amounts of rain in that area and causing catastrophic flooding in that area. Current model still has it heading towards us, and we are still preparing for it when it gets here. It's just the timeline has been pushed back to the point where I felt it was good for me to release this video now, show you what we've done, show you what we're planning on doing to prepare, and speak about a little bit about our mindset of how we prepare for a storm like this. Granted, each situation is different, and we look at each storm as it comes along. Had this been a direct hit towards us, and we were seeing a hurricane of this magnitude, category 3, coming directly to us, the plan would be completely different. Had it been falling more to the closer to us, whether east or west, would also affect our plan in that aspect. We will be looking at things such as storm surge, wind shear, and possible damage caused for that. As of now, we've already seen tornadoes in our area spawned off of this storm from the outer bands that are coming through our area. So this is something we needed to take into consideration as we come up with a plan for our homestead and our family's safety. I'm going to apologize for any long pauses, because for this first video I don't really have it planned out. I'm just going to talk off the top of my head on this. But what I wanted to stress is that this is the plan we were having for this storm. If it had been, like I said, a major event towards us, it'd be a completely different plan. Now, as a homesteader, if you're a homesteader, you are a prepper. It's just a matter of degrees. Now, I don't like the word prepper in general, because that brings out the image of the tinfoil hat buried in the bunker with guns ready to blast, and 15 years worth of stored food. That's not what we are. We're homesteaders. We prepare to keep our homestead going. We prepare to keep our families safe. Like I said, I don't like the word prepper because of the stereotype that goes along with it. Mostly because of, TV shows that popularize the word. But you prepare as best you can. Some of the preparedness we've done, and we do for storms like this, is communications. We all have our means of getting to the internet, whether it be hardwire or cell phone. But to be honest with you, my experiences with Andrew and Katrina, cell phone towers are normally the first thing that go out in the storm. Think about it. Tower is up in the air, big wind, boom, they're gone. So in a storm event, I don't depend that much on my cell phone. Now, as a flood event, major rain event, yes, the cell phone will be very good for its communication with the outside world, whether it be your friends and family that are not in the area, which you should keep track of, and let them know what's going on, let them know where you're at, let them know whether you're planning on staying or evacuating. So someone will be out there knowing where you should be. Granted, if you lose power, multiple ways to charge your cell phone. We do, you can, of course, car chargers, 12-volt chargers, these little emergency battery packs you can pick up from Amazon or Walmart, wherever, which would, you can charge ahead of time and recharge your phone with. They're great to have in an emergency. You also need other means of communication and ways to get information. Radio is invaluable, in my opinion, of that. Especially if you have a weather radio. We have these little walkie-talkies that we have that have access to the weather networks. Also, battery powered radios, hand crank radios. There's 1,000 of them on the market. You choose what's best for you. Speaking of batteries, make sure you have excess batteries, not only for your radio and your other and devices like that, but also for flashlights. Power out, it's going to get dark at night. And there was a lot during Katrina, especially in New Orleans, there was a lot of fires in homes because of power outage. People light candles for light, and candles would fall over, and these houses would catch on fire. So battery powered light is always better. If you have to use candles, if that's your best option, so be it. Be careful. Never go to sleep with a candle lit. Have somebody awake at all times if you have to use a candle for light. I do have a couple of scenes I did shoot of some of the preparations we've done, and I spoke a little bit about it. You know, some of them are hard placed into our homestead, for as like the watering of our animals, to make the way our animals get their water. It is geared towards not having electricity at all the time, because the way our homestead built up, our animals were actually on our property a very long time before we actually had a reliable source of power. I do have a limited solar power bank that I used to run the water well that's on the property for a while. It's not up and running at the moment. I am planning on bringing it back online soon. One of my ideas for a future video. But with everything else going on, personal life, work, storms, it wasn't practical to get online right now, and it's not top priority now that we have power on the property. The most important thing about preparing for a storm like this is making sure your family's safe. Animals are important. Infrastructure is important, but it's not as important as your family. If at any time preparing for a storm you think my family would not be safe here from this event, you need to think seriously about evacuating. We love our animals. I love my children and my grandchildren more. If it came to it, we have plans in place to take care of the animals as best they can be taken care of, and then we would evacuate to protect what's more important. It's a hard decision to make, but it's one that needs to be made sometimes.
Okay, apologize for the lousy camera work and the sound of the rain, but we are already experiencing some showers coming through the area from the hurricane, and we're still a few days away from it getting to us. Just got back from the store, getting some items to make sure we had enough to last through the event. We are expecting multiple days of rain, and more likely we'll have some flooding. In an event like that, you want to make sure all your animals have enough feed, not just your livestock, but also the family pets. Unfortunately, we don't have natural gas in our area. Our stoves in our houses are electric, which means we have to have alternative means of cooking in case the power goes out for an extended amount of time. We have barbecue pits. I have a propane bottle stove that we use for outdoor cooking. And we also have a campfire stove, so that gives us a couple of different options there. Potable water. We have make sure we have enough water to last us a few days, and you also want to make sure you have enough water put away for your livestock. We do have parish water and from the utilities, and we have a water well on property. Unfortunately, the water well runs off electricity, so even with what little generators we have, we wouldn't want to waste the generator on the water pump unless it was absolutely necessary. So we have some 55-gallon barrels that we store water in, and we use for the animals because we don't run the well every day. And another thing we always prepare for, even though this isn't exactly an earth-friendly thing to do, but we do it in case of storms to take some of the burden off of our cleaning issues, is make sure we have disposable cups, plates, and silverware to eat with. It's just one last thing you have to be wasting your good water on, because if you're under a ball advisory, the last thing you want to do is be washing your dishes in the water that's not clean enough for you to drink. Well, I'm going to try to get out of this weather. I just saw a couple bolts of lightning, and I want to get out of this car, get into the house, and I'll come back with another shot, another bit of this video as soon as I can.
As far as preparing our freezers, what we'd like to do is a few days before the storm actually hits, we get any excess bottles we have, whether it be soda bottles, milk jugs, pitchers, what have you. We fill them up with water and we allow them to freeze solid. Go ahead and your deep freezers, crank them up all the way to the maximum cold level, and let everything freeze you can. Also, what we do for safety, to whether or not you know whether your freezer has thawed and refroze, we'd freeze a cup or a jar of water, and then once it's frozen solid, we place a coin on top of the ice. In that event, if say you lose power for a significant amount of time, and the stuff in your freezer goes into a full thaw, the ice in this cup will melt, the coin will fall to the bottom. Power comes back on, it refreezes. Where everything else might look safe and ready to go, like nothing happened, that coin's not on top. You know everything in your freezer has melted and refrozen and may not be safe to eat. So you may want to go ahead and discard it and make other plans. This show you how well it works. This is a couple of minutes this coin's been on there. It's already frozen to the block of ice because of the natural thawing of the ice. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the freezer, put these jugs back in the freezer to give us extra cold. But this will help. Personal experience, I can tell you this will help. During Katrina, we had an outside freezer that was outside on our back patio of the house we were living at the time. And we done this, made sure it was packed full. You want to cover every square inch if you can with something frozen, whether it be food or jugs like this. And after 5 days of no power, our ice cream was a little soft. That was the only thing we had. That from being 5 days without power, all the food was safe to eat. We lost nothing in our deep freezer, from sitting there in a storm for that long. The main pen sits on low ground, and if we get a lot of rain or storm surge, this area can go in the water. Our plan that we have to use is, because we don't have a lot of high ground on our property yet, we're getting it built up as we can afford to. Well, the ducks don't need to be moved, but the goats get moved to temporary shelters we have on high ground, which these are some old dog kennels. The chickens,
As long as the water is not as high as their hen house, they're normally fine. If it gets too bad, we move them out, move them into the temporary cages on by the house. Here's our temporary kennels we use for the goats when the water gets too high for them in the pen. I still gotta move some more dog houses from the other side of the property into them, but we have a little time for that yet. Water for the animals comes from the electric powered water well. If we lose power due to a storm or rain event, we also store the water in these 55-gallon drums we have around the property. The water is cycled through regularly because we don't run the water well every day, and we use these drums to fill up their water.
Some of the preparations we do last minute, and that's right before we know the storm's going to hit, and basically the flood event or the storm event's going to happen. In a case like this would be, we want to make sure every vehicle we have is full on fuel. Any generators has plenty of fuel. If we have a gas tank, it's full. Even down to the lawnmower, make sure it's full. I mean, be honest, if we run out of gas everywhere else, we can always pull the gas out of that and put to something else. Also, we like to make sure we have enough ice to get us through those couple of days. When you have your freezer packed off with those blocks of ice I talked about, from the water jugs, milk jugs, soda bottles, whatever you have, you don't want to be opening that freezer to check to see how it's doing. That freezer stays shut until the power comes back on. So we take what we're planning on cooking for the next couple of days, or drinks that we plan on drinking, just keep, to keep cool, waters, sodas, milks, juices, are put in these ice chests that we pack off full of ice. Those are the ones we use for as our meals and our drinks and stuff. And speaking of meals, you want to try to make it easy as possible. For its meal planning wise, a lot of people eat MREs or these pre-packaged foods. We just don't eat a lot of that. We prefer home cooked meals, but there's ways to do that safely. There's 1,000 videos on YouTube on fast, easy prepared meals for emergencies. I'm not going to get in detail of that. Like I said before, this whole subject is, I can make 100 videos easily on just concentrating on one aspect of this video. Any medications your family needs. If you have someone in your household who is diabetic and is dependent on insulin and needs to be kept cold, that goes in the ice chest. Good quality ice chest, or good preparations for an event like this. Well, that's some of our plans we have in place as of now. As the situation changes, our plans will be adjusted accordingly, but we'll see how that goes as we move along. Thanks for watching.